look for as far
Anyways.
as parking.
Yeah, and I didn't know Jeremy
Agreement.
was a land use attorney. Did you know
It
that?
didn't look like,
The
He didn't come
supplements
to very
won't
many
do it,
meetings,
because all
but I
the
didn't know
supplements
that.
do is
Yeah.
just say, hey, the original rules are expanding.
expanding to incorporate this portion.
Yeah. And
You
all
need
the
to
s-
close
all
that-
the
that one,
supplements
open
do
it again.
is They, new boundary, that's what they're adding. And then it's, oh,
Okay.
here's the new
So we have tons of
percentages,
public and
add up to
everything here.
100%
It's
for
fun, but quiet tonight.
all the buildings. So when we
Hi, how are
first did
you?
it,
Preston.
they added up to
How are you, man?
100%.
I know.
Oh, man. Thank you for sharing.
Redistricting.
Okay.
At least
someone
someone
has
has
a
a
tie
tie
in
in
the
the room.
All the time.
Otherwise, it gets fire if he does.
Yeah.
It's clear.
Well,
Okay, thank you.
what I'll
Appreciate
have to
it.
do is just get together with Marty and Tina to find out, okay, which one governs, which one do we want to keep?
Only have those.
Are we
Okay.
live?
That's my goal,
I think
leave
the
with
only
no
thing
paper.
we want to make-
Daniel, are we live streamed?
Yes, ma'am.
Ken, you might have to be the only one that comments on all of these.
Keep it short, Ken.
I'm going to explain why I want to keep it 20, but you're going to have a time to talk to them.
Looks really fun.
Request that, for sure.
Is that what they're doing?
You can,
Oh, is that what they're doing out there?
You can say that, no problem. Just say, hey, it's bad, this,
I
bad.
wonder
I
what
saw a few
club,
people
wonder what
going
it
out there.
is.
It's the rocketry club.
Yeah, but that's, we work together on that, right? Okay.
Give me a honorary photo and I'll be happy to make it.
You can come live with me for a bit.
Let's not do that.
No, let's take away everybody's.
So Josh really worked with you, right? Yeah. I worked with him at Salt Lake. We both started about.
Harry, did you get you an agenda?
Is he still there?
I think so.
Just
I
on-
saw
by
him
the
at
door.
City Hall.
Done a little internship with the city. He teaches at Oak Canyon Junior High. And he's little.
We'll bring the June 8th, 2017 Pleasant Grove City Planning Commission meeting to order. We will begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Phelps, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay. And Commissioner Sanderson, would you be willing to give us opening remarks? Sure. Thanks.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we pause to give thee thanks, express gratitude for our many blessings. We're thankful for this place where we live and the freedoms we enjoy. We ask for thy help this evening in our meeting, in our deliberations and discussions. Help us to be thoughtful and civil, and pray that we may accomplish good for the benefit of the city of Pleasant Grove. This is our prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
As we approve the agenda, please note that item number 3 regarding the use of shipping containers as accessory buildings has been continued because staff feels it's not ready yet. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Chair, I make the motion that we approve the agenda with the continuance of item 3. I'll second.
That's a motion by Commissioner Baptista and a second by Commissioner Coombs. All in favor?
Aye.
Any questions about the staff reports?
Chair, I move that we accept the staff reports for this evening.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Baptista, second by Commissioner Armstrong. All in favor?
Aye.
And I think we have one conflict or abstention.
I have a conflict with item number 2, and I'll abstain.
Okay. Great. Okay, so we'll move to item number 1, which is a public hearing to consider the request of Preston Davies to amend City Code 10-12, Article A, Business and Manufacturing Park Zone, by revising and reorganizing the provisions regarding permitted and conditional uses, as well as various zoning requirements. Turn it over to Daniel.
Chair, Commissioners. So item number one, it's a proposed amendment for section 1012, the business and manufacturing park zone, Article A. The applicant is for this amendment is Preston Davis, and what we're trying to do here is change some of the requirements and the uses allowed in the zone. Those were the two main objectives, was to include new uses that were not allowed before, and also to reduce setbacks and landscape requirements without compromising high quality standards for the zone. So the BMP zone, it's the business and manufacturing park zone that we have here in Pleasant Grove. When this zone was created, it was created with the mentality, with the idea of having some sort of a business park. Business park, it's their characteristics is they're large, but not just that, but the setbacks are quite big. The landscape areas are large, and it's not just in the front, but all around the development. In some of the cases, they even have internal roads, ample parking spaces, and in their landscape, a lot of them include water features. So things like that. It's not just for one building. Many business parks have multiple buildings in just one parcel. Here in Pleasant Grove, we have our BMP zone located closer to the freeway, but not adjacent to the freeway. The location of our BMP zone, it's peculiar. It's between our most intense use zone, which is the manufacturing zone, the manufacturing distribution zone, and what I like to call the jewel in the crown of Pleasant Grove, which is the Grove district that we have right there. So that is right in the middle, the BMP zone. We, as a staff, we had considered previously the completely removal of that zone and merging it with the manufacturing zone. However, in the multiple meetings we had with elected officials, with members of the commission, and members of different boards within the city, we realized that this zone actually had a really important function in the city, which was a transition between I might call high quality architectural standards, same with landscape, a transition into the manufacturing zone. So multiple requests or questions were asked to the elected officials, and like I say, everyone who participated, even people from the public, and they wanted to keep this zone in there. So this zone is also very interesting because I don't think can we turn the lights, maybe see if I, this zone, it's about 70 acres. Yes, about 70 acres. And I don't know if you guys can see very close there, but the property lines, I mean, here we can see them, but in this color it's a little difficult. But in this zone, all we have right now is 6 parcels or lots. So close to my heart is a business that that was in the mind of whoever created this zone in the past. Close to my heart is located right here, and faces 700, and definitely has the feeling, definitely has the sense of a business like type of facility. Then close to my heart is the building is located right here, but the property goes all the way till almost right here. So the largest tract of land belongs to close to my heart. And then the other 5 parcels are, there's 3 of them right here. There's 1, 2, and 3. There's another one that is already being occupied by the academy, a school right there. The name just skipped out of my head right now.
Spectrum.
Spectrum Academy is located right here, and then we have another parcel facing 700. So because of the geographical constraints, this zone right here, to give the aspect of or the feeling of a business park, for example, the setback in the front is 50 feet. Okay, the parcels right here, the lots right here, the frontage is not along 700, but the frontage is along this, there's a public street right here. So we go with the 50 feet setback. It's quite onerous, if I may say it, for any type of development. So what we did is the reduction of that. So kind of like to incentivize, but also it makes sense. It makes sense. This is the general plan. Okay, this is the general plan. The general plan, we have 3 different land uses around here. The whole BMP zone fits into the industrial general plan land use designation. Actually, the BMP zone extends a little bit right here into the Grove. So this part right here is what Close to My Heart is, but they own all this land. So right here. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, perfect. So here's a better image. I tried to overlap the zoning map right now with the general plan. The yellow one is the BMP zone as it is right now, the 70 acres, and the orange part is that's what the general plan supports in regards to land use designation for industrial. So certain uses that were allowed in the MD zone, which is right here, the manufacturing zone, were included or were added to the BMP zone. And the general plan supports that decision or supports that motion. Because like I say, all this area right here is designated in the general plan or is the vision of the general plan as industrial use. Okay, so in the staff report that you guys have, in page number 5 of the staff report, what we did right there, I took advantage of the situation and also eliminate the conditional uses and make them permitted, and only left one conditional use, which is the adult entertainment, but the rest of them were permitted uses. Okay, so for example, restaurants, that was the only conditional use that we had before other than adult entertainment. So I made it permitted, or we turned it into permitted with qualifying standards, which were the conditional, the conditions before, conditions that were written in the ordinance already. So the added uses are the ones in red. Most of the uses that were added had to do with only light manufacturing. By light manufacturing, staff understands that as the manufacturing of products that does not have to do with raw materials. Okay, so for example, right here in the manufacturing zone, you can't, this is going to be a rough example, but you can't kill a cow and use the leather to make a belt right here, but not right here. Because we won't deal with raw materials like that. Okay. Now, textiles, staff considered that it was okay to be part of the permitted uses. There were many other uses like wholesale trade, even like sport facilities weren't allowed before. So there's a series of uses that now are part of the zone. Let me see if I can, yeah. So another thing that we did was the reduction of the setbacks and the reduction of the landscape requirements in regards to the area. Usually when someone's going to develop a parcel or a lot, the ordinance requires certain percentage of it to be landscape. The requirement that we had as it is right now, it was 30%. Almost a third of the land needed to be landscape. And if we walk right here, if we just look Close to My Heart, we can see the building right here and the immense area landscape areas right here. I think this is kind of like a lake or something like that. So we reduced that to half. So it was reduced to mirror the requirements from the grove and on the landscape requirements. And on the setbacks, it mirror what we have to the right, which is the manufacturing zone. Do you have any questions?
Destin is a voting member tonight, and he doesn't have any copies of the staff reports. So if we could get him,
He didn't get access to Dropbox in time.
yeah,
to read.
if we can get him something so he has paperwork
For
in
sure.
front of him.
Thanks for stopping.
You can look at my list in here.
It's unfair for him to not have something to review.
I didn't think about making you copies.
Any questions for Daniel on?
Correct. Actually, that's no close to my heart. Goes all the way to right here. From right here.
But they only use the corner right now.
Correct. They only use the corner. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Daniel.
Just if I might say something else, we worked with this with the applicant. We held multiple meetings. We disagree and then later agree in certain uses until we came to a consensus. There is an issue in regards to the setbacks, and it looks like the applicant was requesting less setback on the backyard. What we request right now is 20 feet. Okay. The reason why I went with 20 feet, like I said, in regards to the landscape requirements, I tend to favor the grove, and in regards to the setbacks, it tries to mirror the setbacks from the manufacturing zone. Pretty sure the applicant's gonna have his time after me, but that's what I have so far.
Is the applicant here, Mr. Davies? I think you should ask Daniel that.
Daniel, 6376, what's unidentified storage?
One of the uses.
If you allow me, while he's doing his presentation, I'm gonna go grab my book of uses, and I can tell you which one is it again.
It's 6376, it just says unidentified.
6376.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what
Okay.
that means.
Could you give us your name and address?
Hi, yeah, my name is Preston Davis, and it kind of took me back to 7th grade to hear Davies. I used to have a 7th grade teacher call me Davies, but
Oh, it's just
So,
Davis, that's a
just
typo.
Preston
Okay.
Davis, and I'm representing the owners, Dave Told and Jeff Lindstrom. They weren't able to be here tonight. They're both out of town. We had this scheduled for a couple weeks ago, and we had to postpone it to tonight, so they asked me to excuse them. I'll give you a brief history of this land. They purchased these approximate 6 acres from the city of Pleasant Grove several years ago, and it was their intention to operate their own businesses out of there. Jeff Lindstrom has an HVAC company, a mechanical company, and Dave Told has Told Plumbing. And so their idea was to build a facility there to accommodate both of their operations. Now, you've probably seen Dave Told is building a new facility right here on the corner of Geneva Road and State Street. And so he doesn't have a use for this land. They've asked me to help them sell it. And we've had it under contract twice in the last 9 months. And each developer has gone to the city and under their due diligence reviewed the uses and the setbacks, and each of them has come back and said, we can't continue on through the due diligence period because these constraints are too strenuous and it just doesn't make economic sense for us. And that's when we started meeting with Daniel and other city staff to come up with some sort of a plan that would accommodate both the buffer zone that the city's trying to require as well as something that makes economical sense for a developer. And our purpose, and I wrote this down, our purpose is to modify the BMP zone in such a way that would allow for a cleaner use than that of the MD zone, but also be attractive to a developer. It's basically what I've already said. And the two issues that we concentrated on in order to achieve those objectives, or that objective, was one, like Daniel said, modify the uses, and two was to modify the setbacks and the landscaping requirements. And that's what we've done in this proposal that I think you all have now in front of you. And we feel comfortable with that. The only two items that we would want to address above and beyond what is in the proposal would be, one, the rear setback that Daniel mentioned right before he sat down. Currently, it is it's requested in this proposal to be a 20-foot setback, and we would request it to be a 15-foot setback if it's neighboring a residential development, and a 0 setback if it's neighboring another industrial development. So if it's right up against another industrial development, oftentimes we see a 0 setback allowed. It wouldn't make any change to the landscaping requirement. It would just allow them to configure their building in maybe a different way on that footprint of land. So see if and the other item that we would like to address above and beyond what's in this proposal, besides the rear yard setback, would be for the ability to have a fairly small, clean yard. Allow someone like, say, John Deere Landscapes to be able to run their operation there and allow for a clean yard where maybe they have irrigation pipe, things like that. We're not talking global coatings. We're not talking asphalt zipper. We're just saying if you had, say, a John Deere Landscapes that does want to move in, I actually represent them right now, and they're looking to move into Utah County again, and they're trying to decide where to go. Currently, they're not in Utah County. They moved out of Utah County in the Great Recession. They moved out in about 2012. They were down in Linden, right on your way towards the, you've probably seen that, on the way to the dump on the corner there. They'd like to come back, but currently this zone doesn't allow for a yard. They're not talking a huge yard. Typically, they would need something like 6,000 square feet. So we like what we've come up with Daniel and the staff. We think it's reasonable. We hope that there's some intersection between what the city wants and what a developer would consider moving forward with. And we feel that this would be the minimum set of uses and setbacks that a developer would require. And so we think there is some intersection there, but it's very just barely touching. But we think we could get a developer to move forward with this set of uses and setbacks and landscaping requirements. But we would also like to add those two items, the rear yard setback, moving from 20 to 15 if it's residential, 0 setback if it's neighboring another industrial property, and then allow for a small clean yard. So anyway, I think I've said everything about 2 or 3 times, but that's what our proposal would be. Do you have any questions as far as what the owners are thinking, or what type of uses we're seeing from developers, or any questions at all for me?
Questions? Thank you, Mr. Davis.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Okay, we'll open the public comment period for this item. If anyone would like to comment on it, you're welcome to. All right, we'll close the public hearing. And
Here, I have a question for Daniel.
Yes.
What
ma'am.
is the city's objections to his proposal?
Well, he just mentioned me. I wasn't aware of the second one, of the open yard one, till right now. But the one in regards to the setbacks, again, I try not to be arbitrary when choosing the setbacks. Right now, the existing setback for the zone, it's 25 feet. So we reduced that to 20. The setback on the manufacturing zone, the MD zone, the one to the east, is 20 feet, not concessions. So even because we play with the idea of what happens if it's adjacent to a same type of use. The manufacturing zone doesn't allow for that because the light manufacturing type of use is allowed, then therefore 20 feet is requested. Even if it's manufacturing, close to manufacturing, their code right now still requires the 20 feet. Now the growth, there's some room for a reduction up to 10 feet if you put a fence in it, but there's no manufacturing allowed in there. It's offices and residential. So that's the thought behind the 20-foot setback. I don't know if I explained myself that.
No, yeah, that was fine. But his request to add the yard,
I
that-
didn't know till today. I think if we write some qualifying provisions, it might be feasible, but I will have to write something and come back to you guys.
so if we were going to entertain that, we'd have to continue this for it to be revised.
Correct.
Okay. Do we want to entertain this idea?
I think it's worth evaluating, personally. You know, as long as we can have sufficient restrictions to,
What
Manage
type of yard and what is stored in the yard?
or the size of it, probably.
Correct.
Size and location.
Size, type, what we can, type of items that we can
Percentage
have.
of the lot,
Yeah.
I'd say percentage of the lot.
That's another way to to.
Yeah.
That's another way to manage it. I haven't thought of any of those regulations because I wasn't aware of that use until right now. But it will take me a couple days to figure something out.
Well, Chair, I'll make a motion then. I move that the Planning Commission continue the request of Preston Davis for the proposed amendment to City Code Section 10-12- Article A, Business and Manufacturing Park Zone BMP until, do we have a date certain?
Next time.
2 weeks sufficient?
Yes.
So that would
Remember
be,
that list you said was getting smaller? I told you.
what is that date? Is that the
It's the 22nd.
22nd? So until June 22nd, based on allowing the staff to go back and possibly add a yard permitted use into the code. Does that make sense?
There's a motion by Commissioner Baptista and a second by Commissioner Coombs. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. It'll be continued, and we'll look at it again in 2 weeks and see what staff comes up with. Yep. So Commissioner Armstrong has stepped down for item number 2, which is a public hearing to consider the request of Drew Armstrong for the demolition of a historic building, which is allowed by the issuance of a conditional use permit by the Planning Commission. The proposed building to be demolished is on property located at 67 South Main Street in the Downtown Village Zone mixed-use overlay.
Oh, he's got two right here.
Thank you, Chair. Did I take away yours?
That's okay, I'll pay attention.
Oh, there's the one.
Well, yeah, this is the one you just gave me.
Sorry.
It's a little hard for me to read that far. That's why I was bringing something to read. Okay. Chair, Commissioners, the next item, it's a conditional use permit for the demolition of a building with historical character. Again, let me say that again. It's a conditional use. The applicant is Drew Armstrong. The property, this time we're talking a specific property, is located on 67 South Main Street, and it's located in the Downtown Village Commercial District Zone. So that's the location of it. It's next. It's the historical home that is located in that parcel. Before I go further, let me tell you that at this point, staff still doesn't have a site plan or any proposed plans for this lot. Eventually, I'm assuming the staff will have them, will review them. those plans will be presented to you. But at this time, we're not at that point yet. So we're talking about the conditional use only for the demolition of that building. So when the applicant submitted this request, that's that's a couple of images that we have from the place. It's the home that is located right there. It's a closer picture of it. So when the applicant submitted this request, the ordinance had it as a conditional use. I think it still has it as a conditional use. And this is what the ordinance had to say about that. So demolition of buildings with historic character shall be discouraged, except as may be considered by the Planning Commission by the issuance of a conditional use permit with the advice of the Historic Preservation Commission. The demolition will not commence until 60 days after the action of the Planning Commission to permit historic documentation. Now, time limit may be reduced by approval from the Community Development Director. So the important thing to grab from there is that it is a conditional use, and it's implicit right there, the first condition, that it should have the advice of the Historic Preservation Commission. So I would count that as condition number 1. Now, prior to demolition, all buildings with historic character shall be documented, including taking pictures to be maintained by the Pleasant Grove City Historical Commission. So that will be the third condition, that it needs to be documented by pictures. And the third one, that's the second condition, and the third one is the documenting of buildings listed on state and national historic registers shall follow the guidelines designated by those entities. So pretty much, if this building is registered with the state, which I think it is, then it has to follow the instructions that state are gonna give to the applicant. That's why the 60 days is time given for this action to take place. So the Pleasant Grove Historic Preservation Commission already went and took matters into hands, and this is the letter that they gave us, dated April 17, 2017. So the director of the Historic Preservation Committee, who is also Pleasant Grove Library and Arts Director, member of the staff, Sherry Brisk. Did I say right? Brisk? Okay. She wrote this letter, and it says, to whom it may concern, at the request of Drew Armstrong, the applicant, on Monday, April 17, 2017, I documented by photograph the buildings scheduled for demolition at 67 South Main Street in Pleasant Grove. The Commission sees no problem or concerns with the demolition of said building for improvements and recommends issuing the demolition permit. So in this letter, we can see the two of the conditions have already been met. Number 1 is that it's been contemplated by the Historic Preservation Commission, and number 2, that steps to document the building have been also taken place. So in the conditions, I don't think it's in the staff report, but I would like to add that the condition that is missing, or if Planning Commission fails to give approval of this conditional use, to add to the motion that they need to follow the guidelines designed by the state and National Historic Registry. So that's what we have at this time. Do you guys have any questions? I'm pretty sure you put the motion in better words than what you said, but that's the one that I would like to add to the motion. Okay.
So, Daniel, I'm not sure in this case that this building is listed on a state or national registry.
I have my doubts about it.
Well, okay, so it's not on the national register, right? There.
It's on the state.
Well, right, but the state doesn't have a historic register. It has a database of historic buildings.
Okay.
But that's not, anyway, it's different,
Okay.
is what I'm trying to say. But
Okay. In case there's some guidelines that they still need to comply with the state, that is a level higher than us, then they need to be followed. Okay.
any other questions for Daniel?
Not at this time.
Thank you. All right. You want to add anything, Drew? Give us your name and address.
Drew Armstrong, 995 East Pleasant Grove, here for the time being. The state, Utah Division of State History says that a listing in the National Register even, Utah's a pretty conservative state this way and believes in property rights. So it says does not interfere with a private property owner's right to alter, manage, or dispose of the property. The owner does not have to restore or maintain the property or open it to the public. Local preservation ordinances where present may have some implications for a building owner. And so it's kind of funny that we're referencing the state, but the state's throwing it back to the city, to the building owner, but local ordinances are an entirely separate issue from the National Register. We have done more documentation, built a Matterport tour that we will download and give to the library as well of the property, beyond just some pictures. On this one, Ben Stanley actually asked me to do that, and I'm going to do that this weekend for the Old Rec as well. The other thing that I will tell you is that should we not get site plan approval for the building that we are building, we will not be tearing the building down. So I am comfortable with you making that a condition. Because if we're not going to build the new building on it for some strange reason, there's no reason to take this one down. So that's it.
Do you have a plan that you're bringing?
Yeah, we're working on it. It's my architect, who has a master's degree in architecture from the U of U, said that this is one of the most uniquely complicated buildings that he's ever built. So. Yeah, I'm sure that's just, if he'd gone to, no. It's just, in order to fit what we need to fit in the space that we have, the interface between the parking garage and the building itself it's a little complicated, but we should have that this next week and get it submitted to the city, so.
All right. Any other? Okay, we'll open this up for a public hearing if anyone would like to comment on this item. Yeah, give us your name and address.
Terry Hunter, 847 East, 100 North Pleasant Grove. Understanding what Drew just said about the architectural significance, is there any way that could be sold and transferred to another location?
We've actually looked into it.
Will you please come to the microphone?
Use the mic.
The problem with that, and we would love for somebody to go ahead and do that if they wanted to. The contract that I have with Maxine Radmal, who owns it presently, says that they have salvage rights to it. And the reason that we agreed to do that is because it's a masonry building and it's old, and moving it is going to be extremely difficult. It's hard to pick one of those things up and move it.
Yeah.
So.
And
the expense and somebody who would.
Yeah, I would say that I've worked a lot with UDOT, with historic buildings, and they, in the past, regularly used to offer their buildings that they were going to tear down for sale. They would offer them for free and would contribute up to the cost of demolition to moving the building. And they never got it taken up on it. It's prohibitive. So even if you get the building for free and Drew was willing to pay $60,000 to move it somewhere else, it just wouldn't be worth it for anyone.
Kind of sad to see some of those old ladies move.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Yeah. We will close the public hearing then. Are there any?
I have a couple questions. Daniel, my issues are with the code, just so you know. As I've stated in the work session, I don't think that this should be a conditional use, so I don't know if I need to address that anymore, but I have concerns about it being a conditional use. But in the code where it says that it's discouraged, highly discouraged, what is the purpose of that statement if it's a conditional use and we can't deny conditional uses?
It's a statement of intent.
Yeah.
Is that necessary? I mean,
It's something that
is that proper code language, I guess?
no, it's not.
Okay.
No, it's not. If I receive direction from you guys, I can work on fix that on the new ordinance that we pass. I think I make some amendments to that, but not to those words. So
Okay.
I can if I receive direction, I can go and work on it.
Also, Drew said that if we wanted to, we could put in our motion that the building doesn't get torn down unless his project goes forward. Is that a proper? Is that a proper motion? I mean, is that? Should we even entertain that?
Yeah, I don't think it's needed.
Okay.
We're just not going to do it. If we
Well-
can't get it passed, we're not going to.
Correct.
I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure that we're not making a motion and adding something that may not be appropriate. And
Correct.
I have a little
I don't
concern
think
about
it's
making
needed.
that statement. I don't know that we have the right to
Correct.
make that motion. Okay. Those are my questions.
Thank you. So yeah, this,
The conditional use, are we even worrying about that right now then, or are we just?
No, it'll be direction after.
yeah.
After
So
the fact.
we're going to.
I just
direct
wanted to get
Daniel
some
to
clarification
review
on
that.
some of my concerns about the code.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments from the commission? All right. I'm willing to entertain a motion.
I guess I'll make the motion. I move that the Planning Commission approve the request of Drew Armstrong for a conditional use permit for the demolition of a building with historic character on property located at 67 South Main Street in the downtown village zone, commercial subdivision, and adapting the exhibits, conditions, and finding of the staff reports, which includes all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met, along with documenting of the building listed on state and national historic registries shall follow the guidelines designated by those entities. Is that
All right. Motion by Commissioner Baptista, second by Commissioner Coombs. All in favor?
aye? And I would like to give direction to staff to look at this code and make adjustments based on the comments and questions of the commission.
All right. So that motion carries. Drew, you can come back up for items 4 and 5. Are we looking at 4 and 5 together, Daniel? They're for the same.
No, separately.
Okay. So item number 4 is a public hearing to consider a request from Reed Swenson for a preliminary condominium subdivision plat called Majestic Meadows Condominium Plat G, located at approximately 470 West, 220 South in the CG General Commercial Zone.
Which, that's Plat F.
Do you say plat F or plat G?
I was trying to find it because on your,
G is
Eh,
first.
So item 4 says G.
G,
item
right?
5
Yeah,
says
that's
F.
okay.
yeah, I was just on the staff reports in Dropbox, it doesn't distinguish the two. They have the same titles.
No, it says F and G.
Oh, I did it? Okay,
And Majestic Meadows G.
maybe I'm just missing it. Oh, I see it now. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Chair, Commissioners, this item is in regards to a new plat. It's it's a condominium plat. The applicant is Reed Swenson. The approximate location of the property is in 470 West, 220 South. It's in the CG General Commercial Zone, and we're talking about the 3 buildings subdivided by a condominium plat into 8 different units. This is pretty straightforward. So the location of the 2 plats, and this is the next item, they're pretty much next to each other, but right now we're going to only talk about Plat G, which is this triangular piece of land in the corner of 220 and State Street. That's the aerial view of it. So we can see there's 3 buildings. I think this one was demo and rebuilt, correct? Yeah, so, but the mass of the buildings is similar. So we have 3 buildings. They're identified as Building L, Building M and building N. And what's happening is, for example, building L, which is this one right here, it looks like that one will be still capped as only one unit. Building M, which is the one in the middle, will be condominiumized into 3 different units. We got unit 1, 2, and 3. And building N, which I think that's a mistake on the drafting, building N will have 4 different units. It looks like they're gonna have in the main in the main floor, 1 unit is gonna be the whole floor space right there, and then in the lower floor plan, we're gonna have 3 different units. Pretty straightforward. Again, it's a condominium plat, 3 buildings, 8 different units. And staff recommends the Planning Commission forwards a recommendation of approval to the city engineer, which now is the one who approved these type of plats. They will give the final approval.
Any questions for Daniel? All right, thank you. The applicant.
I can talk from here.
You have something to add, Daniel?
Yes, Chair, sorry about that. So one of the conditions is that, as I was reviewing this plat, is that there's not, at the time of reviewing, at the time of writing the staff report, I didn't have designated parking spaces for each unit, which I think is important to have, right? Especially when you're going to do condominium to avoid future problems. Talking to some members of the staff, it's common practice to have those on the CCNRs. Okay, at the time of review, I didn't have the CCNRs, so that's one of the conditions. And in case that there's not enough parking, a shared parking agreement will be required. Thank you, Chair. Sorry about that.
If you could give us your name and address.
Ken Berg from Berg Civil Engineering, 11038 North Highland Boulevard, Highland, Utah. As you can see, we're a little into the alphabet for Majestic Meadows. These will be plats F and G will be our final 2 condominium plats for this project. In reviewing the CCNRs, we looked at the dates. Majestic Meadows Condominiums Plat A, the CCNRs were recorded in 2010. And then with each building, we've added supplements that just expand the condominium project as we added buildings. So these are the last few buildings of our project. We're excited about this corner. I think you saw the site plan. At one point, it was always tempting to swerve off the road and see if you could drive onto the roof of the middle building, but I think we've remedied that. The reason why we're condoing all of these buildings is so that the association can have control of the exterior of all the buildings. You've seen they've refaced a couple of them and generally improved that whole corner to have it cohesive with the whole Majestic Meadows development.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Berg? All right, thank you. We'll open up the public hearing for this item. Anyone wishes to speak? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Did you have something again, Daniel, or?
No, just to be clear again, for the record, the final approval of this will not be given until we find a solution to the parking problem, either on the CCNRs or by a shared parking agreement.
Yeah.
So we need to add that into the motion when we make it?
Please.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
All right. If there's any discussion, or I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
All right.
I move that the Planning Commission recommend that the city engineer approve the request of Reed Swenson for a commercial condominium plat named Majestic Meadows Condominium Plat G, right, on property located at approximately 470 West, 220 South in the CG General Commercial Zone, and adopting with the condition that the city approves the CCNRs or...
The wording is in the recommendation section.
Is it?
Yeah. You go under recommendation number 1.
Okay. The appropriate stalls are designated to each condominium either in the CCNRs or by a shared parking agreement. There we go. And adopting any additional exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report as modified by that specific condition in particular.
And final.
And all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Armstrong, second by Commissioner Baptista. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So then we'll move to item number 5, which is a public hearing to consider a request from Reed Swenson for a preliminary condominium subdivision plat called Majestic Meadows Condominium Plat F, located at approximately 541 West, 220 South in the CG General Commercial Zone.
Chair, Commissioners, next item is similar, pretty similar to the last one, same applicant. The address is different. The address is 541 West, 220 South. The zone is the same, and that's incorrect because this is only one building, and 3 condominium, look at this, that's even, 3 condominium units, okay? So now we're gonna talk about Plat F. The reason why I gave you an address from 220 is because that's the frontage that this plat has right there. Tiny, but that's the frontage that he has. Something important to mention is that in this zone, there's no requirement for square footage for lot size. That's why it allows for this type of condominium patterns or yes, so that's what we have right there. That's an aerial view of what's going to happen. I guess they still want to give access to the to this building, and there's the access right there.
And lock them.
They're not locked. Interest, but they're not by that. So this is the building. There's only one building, Building I. Again, similar situation. Some of the parking for this, it's right here, but it's outside of the plat boundaries. I'm thinking that there's some parking right here, but I would still like to see that and the allocation of that in the CCNRs. Just parking right here for this, for that building. It's Building I, 3 units. So pretty straightforward. So that's what we have. Same recommendation is that right here we'll give preliminary approval for the city engineer to give final approval with the condition that the parking situation, it's either find remedy on CCNRs or on a shared parking agreement. Okay.
Any questions for Daniel?
Yeah, Daniel, can you go back to the other one? One more. So that squiggly section, is that a driveway? Is that
Yes.
Is that the access to the back? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Docks or something.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't tell if it was coming from the parking lot it's fronting, or if they're driving between the two properties.
Yeah, you can drive through here. There's some access, and you can go through that.
So it will connect to the other parking lot.
Yes.
So
it
they
will.
can come in either
Let
direction.
me take a look at that. Yes, you can see right here. You can go, and there's an opening between this, so you can go through here and eventually come back, I guess.
Okay.
But
I was trying to figure that.
We can ask the developer about that. It's
I was just trying to
it
figure
looks
out
a little-
what.
It looks a little interesting. When I was reviewing, it was interesting even to me to see that this zone doesn't require minimum square footage. So that was something something new for me to learn about these ones.
Cool. Okay.
Any other questions for Daniel? Thank you. Did you have anything to add, Mr. Swanson?
I want to know about. I want to know about his access.
Well, Ken Berg Civil Engineering. I'll add even one more wrinkle to it. The codes, there's not a minimum square footage for a lot. There's also for a lot, there is a minimum lot frontage that is 20 feet.
So that's what this is for.
Probably the best example is, so this building doesn't have frontage. So that's why there's a wiggle. But if you can go back one to the aerial photo. Did you have an aerial photo for that one?
Let me help you with this.
Yeah, I'm out of my league now. Yes, there we go. So it gets even more confusing. Here is the Culinary Crafts Building.
Okay.
Here is what was Plat A, okay? Plat A had frontage. The back portion is the interstate barricades. It was a lot. Where is the frontage for this lot? See this little 20-foot gap right here? That is the frontage for that lot. It's just a weird thing in the code that says you don't have a minimum lot size, but you have to have frontage on a public street for your commercial building. And so as we developed, we had to do weird lot lines that then, when we condo the plats, we erase them and do the condominium plats, and everything becomes open and connected. So it's just the joys of a commercial subdivision development. Yours isn't unique. All the other cities I go to, commercial is just, it's just weird.
Okay. So that for the one building, it does have access to that parking lot then?
Yes.
It just, you have to connect it to get the frontage off the other street?
You go through, you can come in this common access drive, you can come in this common access drive, or you can come onto the common access drive here, and you can drive circles around to get to that building.
But the reason why you made it that design is because you had to have frontage on that one street?
Exactly.
Okay, I understand now.
You
Thank you.
actually, if you tried to drive through this frontage, you would drive into the project's rip-wrapped detention pond. Good luck trying to get there using its own frontage. But welcome to commercial. Just how it works.
Thank you, Mr. Berg. Any other questions? All right. We'll open this one up for public comment, if anyone. Oh, Daniel, yeah.
Just for the record, the required frontage is 35 feet, not 25 feet. It's 35 feet.
It's still really big.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Daniel.
Basically, I think that's probably what the intent was initially.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing if anyone wants to come up and comment. Okay, we'll close the public hearing, and I'm willing to entertain a motion.
I'll have a question first.
Oh, yes.
Daniel, is there, do we need to review this code as well? Is this,
That's common practice.
is it, that this is not something that's unique?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure that our city's not doing something that is totally.
I've seen some labyrinths before, but yeah, it is.
Okay, I just want to.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move the Planning Commission recommend that the City Council approve the request of Reed Swenson for a commercial condominium plat named Majestic Meadows, condominium plat F on property located at approximately 541 West, 220 South in the CG General Commercial Zone. And with the following conditions, appropriate parking stalls are designated to each condominium either in the CCNRs or by a shared parking agreement, and all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
We also need to adapt the exhibits conditions.
We also need to adopt, well, it's because it's in two places. We also need to adopt the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Coombs, a second by Commissioner Armstrong. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Has everyone had a chance? Do we have minutes that came in?
Chair, I make the motion that we approve the minutes for May 25th, 2017 of the Planning Commission meeting.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Baptista and a second by Commissioner Armstrong. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Chair, I make the motion that we.
I will not be the next time.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay. Chair, I make the motion that we adjourn for the evening.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
You're adjourned.
Barbara, did you get that? That Lisa won't be here next week, or next meeting, not next week.
I think I was wrong.
Did we just have some weird codes tonight?
There's a downtown.
Jennifer, will you hand those,
There's a downtown
please?
district.
Everything is on the
Yeah.
national register.
So they're a
By-
contributing item.
Yeah.
Or contributing properties. But
Other than
I don't
you know what that means is.
Specifically is, but I think the whole downtown.
Yeah, part of the Dropbox.
And so when they do those district nominations,
Do you
they
have a, you
list all of the
use
buildings that
Dropbox?
contribute,
Some,
they say.
not very often, but some.
Okay, because everything's dropped in the Dropbox. If you want a printed copy, let Barbara know.
Included on that.
I know it's the state, I checked the state, I haven't checked the national.
You know,
Okay, I am confused.
standards, right? I mean, there are standards for preparing the National Register submission, and there are different categories of
I was just reading the
classification. There's
approval.
North
Have
American
staff
buildings.
report 5,
Rarely done.
but the motion she read, the motion I have is Jerem with Larson Acres. So he just hasn't crossed that out.
Photos,
So where did she read that motion?
history of the building.
Which we've done.
See, and I print-
So you list all the owners.
See, I print them from, dang it, see, and I don't,
have a printed copy.
it doesn't keep me in Dropbox. Okay, that makes sense.
These are the
So just get the.
I gotta get the right one off.
Get the